I'm doing a follow-up on the Cuttermaster. I've been working with this for 7 months now. I was invited to give my opinion on the design of the unit, making it better for resharpeners like I am. Originally, it was designed for sharpeners where they're doing repetitive sharpening on knives where they have large batches of identical blades and they want to have identical sharpening process so they all match up. But resharpeners, you need to, one, go fast, especially if you're in a farmer's market like I am. You need to be able to deal with whatever comes in the door, whatever steals in the door. And there was a lot of changes to the machine that ended up needing to be made. Okay, so items that got changed. The resin wheels. There's different kinds of resin, different kinds of diamond. He uses these wheels a lot, but usually on very high grade steel. So he needed to know what still worked on the low grade steel a lot of cheap knives have. Then there was the speed and torque. If you want to use this machine for thinning knives, it works great for that. Different ways of cooling the machine. The arms themselves are a new item. Originally, he thought this was a wheeled machine, used with wheels, and that's the way it's designed, but I convinced him he needed to have arms and the ability to put two on or just one. And so I've got that with platens. So here's what came. Keep in mind, I'm reusing my two arms off of this unit. So you might get one more box. Probably, I would think you get one more box with yours. Maybe even more than that if you're getting wheels. This part here is the tool rest. It's a completely new design. So I'm excited to see how that goes. This is the way it comes boxed up. Now I want to show you something with this that some of you may like. When I had my Chinese wins, I'd receive a lot of comments about, buying stuff in China. And, everybody's got their opinions on it. I mean, they were usually Tormac people, and you're not buying in the U.S., so it's more about China, not U.S. And for those guys, you'll probably like the fact that this is made in Canada. And if you got a problem with Canada, I don't know how, but if you do, the owner of the company is an American citizen. So they're just over the border. So don't let your panties get too wadded up on that. Anyway, let's open this up. I have to kind of take care of this box because I'm returning my old one. It'll get updated. I don't know if Jeff is going to be offering any of the used units he has that were part of the prototyping process, getting them updated, but the blemishes and the like. But that's something you can certainly call them and see if they have anything like that. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was going on. Okay, so this is how it is in the box. You get a cover. Jeff, I didn't know you were sending me a cover. I didn't know you were making a cover. That's going to be great. When I got my first unit, he sent one of these belts. It's a Canadian company, and it's kind of like a Tradesman, only these are little squares, like a pyramid that's flat on the top, very small. They're, God, half a millimeter, a millimeter. They last pretty long. And the coarser ones are pretty aggressive. They move stuff fast. And they work great with water if you're going to be getting them all wet. But you can only get these up in Canada. At least that's what I found. So he set me up with one of those. My unit comes with these spin-offs, which are nice. But remember, this is a reversing motor. And the direction of the thread makes a difference. It's a very powerful motor, so when you start it up, if you didn't have a way of locking that, it'd spin loose. This part of it, the center section, is metal, steel. All the outer parts and the bottom is aluminum. Let's take a look at this. I see the new design here. This is going to be much better on how the wheels mount. So this plugs into the back, only plugs in one way on the back. This is where the reversing switch is. The center's off, forward, back, maybe the other way around. I have to plug it in to know. Let me transfer over all the parts I'm reusing on my old unit. I know the wheels go on different with a positive keyway instead of a system that pinched it. That sometimes would spin a wheel loose if you hit it reverse. And this new way is the improved, and we'll talk about that. If you've got pre-existing wheels already, it's not a problem. You can fix it. I have to fix my two wheels, so we'll see how it works. So I showed you what comes in the box. I've got it set up in my trailer again, and I'm going to show you all of the different ways that you can set this up to use it, or every setup. I'm just going to run you through the different setups. For starters, let's talk about cooling these. So this is my 2000 grit wheel. It's very smooth. This is the 100 grit wheel, and it's scratchier, definitely. The way the unit comes, it comes with one sponge, I believe. You can order extra. And you wet this sponge. When I was using these at the beginning, I had a ketchup bottle, you know, the kind in restaurants they refill, they have the little nozzle. And this is up underneath the wheel, and I would just squirt a little water in to keep it fresh. What I found is that the coarse wheel tend to tear the sponge up, and it would put in a divot, and then you'd have to take the sponge, put in a washer or something, put it back in, raise that sponge back up. It worked, but it wasn't the way I like to do it. I'm sure some people will prefer it that way. Now on the smooth wheel, that actually works pretty good. The smoother wheel doesn't tear up the sponge at all. The other option for moisture is a spray bottle. This is what I use. The latest version of this, he's really found that sweet spot of speed and torque. And I'm real happy with it. I was a little concerned because, you know, what's better than more speed than more speed? But you lose all your torque, and this worked out real good. My first day at the market that I used it, I was delighted with it. Sometimes you get something that runs so freaking fast that you have trouble finding your edge. You know, like if you're thinning a knife or you're doing a single bevel, you can't find that sweet spot. The thing's running so darn fast. This is a speed that I find it manageable, and it has the torque. Now this is running at low speed. Let me run it on up. Okay, so if you're used to Tormax and a lot of other equipment, this thing is scary fast. It's going at 1,000 RPM, and remember, it's a 10-inch wheel. That's covering some ground. So this is the speed I run it at when I'm sharpening. And when I started, I would take my a knife and I would put an edge on it. I'd squirt this with water, as you can see here. That's pretty wet, and it gets such light pressure, it doesn't really need much. You can hear how smooth that is. Okay, so that's that. Now, the way I use these now is I've taken this 100 grit off. I've left the 2000 grit because it's working really well. Let me reconfigure that. And what I'm going to put, these wheels drive belts, and they drive it on a hard surface, which to me is better. It gives you a nicer bevel. When you're on this one, even though it's only 1/8 inch, it's a bit of give, and it cups it out a little bit. And I prefer that less, but if you like that, you have the option to get this wheel. This is a 1/2 inch of soft neoprene. And what this does with a belt on, it lets me set my bevel, my final bevel. But then if I want to thin the knife down, I'm able to move up a little bit, take a pass, move up a little bit, take a pass. And because this wheel has a cushion to it, it's very forgiving and it blends those passes together. There's a keyway right here. That's right there, and that keyway locks the wheel to it. I'm going to put my belt on. The belt's tracking a little this way. If I tighten that up, it moves it right over. So let me show you how I sharpen some different items. This, of course, is the knife. You can get a curved platen or a flat platen. You can work here. This is actually where I sharpen, right here. If I sharpen here on top of this curved wheel, I can do that, but it gives more of a radiused edge. And that's great for the thinning process, but for my putting on my apex, I just do light pressure here. I can give it a squirt of water if I want to. Doing a light pressure on this belt, the heat's not an issue. So here's the other option. I pull it up, and right now, I don't know if you can see that I'm looking straight down the belt. And of course the belt is running up towards my face. So doing what I want to do, you want to put it in reverse, and now it's running down. And I'm going to show you how I do scissors. You can see the bevel, and when I used to do this on my horizontal belt, it's hard to get the exact angle. But I'm able to look down the scissor, get the angle, look down the belt, match those two up. And there, that's all it takes. I got a burr and it's up and going. Do that to the same side. If I want it smoother than the belt that I have on, this is 120. So let's say I wanted it much smoother, I can just go over to this wheel, do that same matchup, and that smooths that out. Okay, I've got a burr. Now what I do, down at the other end of the bench, I've got a 1x30 sander, and I have a fine belt on that. Anyway, that belt is set up horizontal like this, and I put it on and I just run the edge a couple times. I turn it over, put the hook underneath. Now this is on that finer belt. Come in and just barely touch and pull it, and it cuts the burr off. Any little burr that's left is taken care of by the plant that you're cutting. This guy here, it's the same thing. I can stand it up. Spread it wide. If I think I got the angle here, I can go. Nailed it. I can lean it forward too. Got it. Again, I can refine this on the other end on the 1x30. Okay. So now, the best trick this has, what I'm the most impressed with, is how well this works with this laser beam. I've always thought about doing this, but finally I have a machine where the wheels stay the same size. I could never do that when I had my two wet grinders. Okay, so this is what my laser beam setup is. This is the actual laser beam right here. On Amazon, I bought this clamp and 2 of these mini magic arms. This is a film industry item. Now, if you don't know what a switchable magnet is, it's a magnet that it's loose, but by flipping this switch, now it's stuck. So I mounted it out here. So the way I do this, if you look, there's tick marks on the aluminum housing directly over the axle. So I try to use one eyeball and I line up on the tick marks until they're both lined up. Then I take a Sharpie and I make a line. You can see them there and there. Now, I don't want to be cutting right on top of the axle, so I roll it forward an amount that I'm comfortable with, about halfway to this radius part here. It's a little guessy and you test it out. It takes me about 3 to 4 minutes to set this up, and then it stays the whole market. So anyway, I don't know if you can see it, but here's where the tick mark is. Here's where the laser is. I'm going to loosen the laser and I'm going to line up both sides so that they're on the tick marks. And then I check. Okay. As it settled, it went just a little back, but it's just on the back edge of the tick marks. That's close enough. I'm happy with that. Okay, so I got my laser set up, got it focused, got a belt to put a bevel on this side, got my 2000 grit stone to put a micro bevel. Now I'm not going to go through my whole sharpening process. I'm just going to jump shortcut to how this laser is used. So I'm going to turn it down so you can hear me better. So I'm on the laser level on this side, and I put the bevel on, and I'm looking for a burr. You know how that works. Okay, so I've got a burr on this. I do what I'm going to do on my secondary stuff that I'm not showing you, but then I'm coming back for the micro bevel. And if I come right up to the line, I'm actually going to be putting a 2000 grit grind directly on top of the coarser grind, like as if I was using a jig. But if I want a micro bevel, I'm going to go there and I'm going to come down 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch. Whatever you think you need to come down in order to put the angle of the micro bevel. So for instance, on this side, I might put 11 degrees. So on this side, I need to put at least a 3-degree micro bevel, 4-degree, whatever you think. Different knives can get away with different amounts. That's how you do that. Now, something else I'm going to show you, and this has to do with this wheel. Remember, this wheel I've got on here is a very soft compound. You're able to take this, and let's say I want to thin, like this is a little bit of meat right here, but by the time it gets out here, it's in pretty good shape. So let's say I just want to thin from the apex in 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch. Well, using my laser, I'm able to come up, and you see how that laser beam is on the face of the blade. So let's take a guess and go 1/3 of the way up the blade. Water, I'll just missed it. Okay, speeds up. Okay. So look at how consistent that is. Bear with me, I'm gonna get some water in my tray. This is where trade water, when you're thinning, the trade water is a much more efficient way to cool down. Okay, let me wipe this off. But look at this. See, is the light catching, or let me try to, you can see how consistent it is. Is that I can do all these activities on one machine. I can sharpen a knife, I can thin a knife, I can remove the, if there's a finger guard that's in the way, I can work on that out here. I can lift it up and do scissors, gardening tools. All of it on this one machine that takes up 18 inches by about 18 inches. It's incredible. So there you go. Oh, I forgot. And for you guys that want to be on jigs, I have their, I have their jig set up. There's 2 slots right here, and you just slide it in, position it, tighten the nuts, and you're using your jig. There's numbers on it here, so that, let's say you're on a, like I am, a bare belt here and a coarse belt here that has a little bit of thickness. You can just tweak your numerical rulers here and just add a millimeter or 2 to one side. However you figure out is the compensation for having a belt and not having a belt, and then you're just as precise as a Tormac jig. So there you go. Your tool rest is in place. It's the best. Okay, here's the deal. I do a lot of videos for you guys. YouTube doesn't pay you anything. I've got a way you guys can help me, and I don't need any Patreons or anything like that. I don't even know how to hook that stuff up. But Cuttermaster made me an offer, and they pay a small token to my my channel for any sales that I get. So if you're considering buying a Tradesman edge or his wheels, contact me. Maybe you've got questions I can answer, help guide you to what you're looking for, and then you just contact Cuttermaster and place your order for what you've figured out you want. For me to be involved doesn't cost you anything. In fact, if you order a couple wheels or a Tradesman edge, I'm able to send you, you can't see it, it's just out of crop here, hang on a second. I'm able to send you the laser beam. This is the focusable laser and its power supply. I will gladly send that to you as a thank you for taking the time to contact me and then placing an order for what you've decided you want to get. I have a different mount with mine, and even though this comes with a mount, you may find you need some of these other parts. If that's the case, talk to me. I'll guide you to where I got them on Amazon, but at least the laser will be taken care of, and I'll gladly get that for you. So thank you very much. Thanks for supporting my channel that way, and feel free to contact me. I'll have information in the About page. And thank you very much. And the last thing I need to tell you, and this is important, so pay attention. If you've ever been like in metal shop or anything like that, when you're in school, your teacher always told you no loose clothing, no long hair, and we all had long hair and loose clothes. Well, when I used to use my Tormac and my Win, and the wheels turning in a water bath, my shirt would get caught. I had it wasn't a cotton shirt like this. It was this slightly stretchy fishing shirt fabric, performance fabric. And if it touched the wet wheel, it would grab it and wrap it on around. And a Tormac will stop turning. It doesn't have that much power. I mean, the motor on a Tormac's like that big, maybe it's that big around. You know, it's a third of a horse, a quarter horse, a fifth of a horse. They don't say what it is. But this machine's different. You have to be protected from this machine trying to kill you. I've never had an incident with it, but what you can do if you wanted to be safe is, one, the tool rest actually makes a nice guard to keep you from getting into the wheels when they're spinning. But what I do, I have an apron, a shitty cheap apron from Amazon. When I bought this thing, it was like $9. I think they're $12 now. And it works great. Even when I get up against the wheel, it doesn't grab it because the apron hangs down. And the other item is a mask. When I was using the wet grinders, the Tormacs, you didn't have to wear masks. It wasn't necessary. You got to do what you got to do. So I'm used to wearing this now, and I'll wear it all day. Doesn't bother me any. These filters are P100s. That seems to be what this kind of dust needs. And these resin wheels do make a bit of dust. If you wet them down, you're good. But eventually you'll do a little something when it's not wet and the dust kicks up a little. Hopefully this video's answered your questions about the Tradesman Edge. If there's anything that wasn't answered, leave a message in the comments. I respond to all of them. Perhaps I can answer it or even do a video on it. If you're in the Los Angeles area and you want to try a Tradesman Edge before purchasing, contact me about that as well. I'll leave my email address in the comment section. If you're ready to purchase one or the resin wheels, again, contact me first. It helps.